Hello and welcome to another episode of Hull's Seahawks Behind the Curtain. And it's episode 7. We're getting through these so quickly now. And we've got another special couple of guests this week joining us. We've got from the Hull Seahawks, we've got Callum Gladding and Matt Mallory. Thank you very much for joining us, Jen. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, for the last few weeks, we've had some of the stars of the Hull Seahawks, but these are some of the stars that you may not notice working behind the scenes. So for those fans out there, I'm sure a lot of them will know you and know the roles that you play throughout the club. But first of all, do you want to just introduce yourself, just in case some of those listeners don't quite know your roles within the organisation?
Yeah, I'll go first. So just all the social media side, a little bit of the marketing as well. So anything you see online from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, do a lot sort of behind the scenes as well with just the general day-to-day admin, sort of commercial side, helping with sponsorship invoices, just general chatting and just supporting the guys any way that we can, really, to be honest. Doing it for the love of the club, and we just adapt and overcome, don't we? We're just kind of doing the best we can, but really enjoy it. So
alongside Cal, I did the original branding for the Seahawks, do all of the graphics, built the website. Cal obviously does the social media. Got involved a bit with shirt designs last year. This year helping out with season passes, creating an online store. Just general bits and bobs.
And of course, it's all those, tons of jobs that go unnoticed a lot of the time, but it's something that, fans just take for granted. So to the two of you, sort of, how did you actually get involved with the club? Of course, there was the rush sort of last April or thereabouts to get this club ready and on its feet ready for September. How was it that each of you got tied into the organisation?
Yeah, I come about it. I first actually started speaking to Ian when it was the club had just started to post things on sort of social media, like the first signings, obviously Matty and Jordan Curtis it was at the time. Afterwards, the two goalies, and I just thought, like, looking through other clubs, I just started like clipping together some videos, like signing videos, and obviously did one for Matty and really liked it. I think there was a company, a business sort of working for the Seahawks at the time, and I don't think that sort of quite worked out the way that the guys wanted it to. So I think they kind of quite quickly went away from that, and I think that's where a lot of that kind of landed on me and Matt. And obviously it's been really well received. I think a lot of people like the signing videos, but that's kind of how it first come about. And I did Matty's first one, and then for all the players last year, we did signing videos, because obviously it's, unless you're a diehard hockey fan, nobody will have really seen all the players we had last season, sort of week in, week out. So that's how it all come about on Facebook Messenger to Ian, and it just kind of went from there, really. And next thing I know, I've got Matty calling me up, and you go from being a fan to being involved with the day-to-day running of the club, and it's quite surreal, really. But it's very fun. It's very exciting.
And of course, Matt, yourself, of course, the logo was one of the first things that we got to see. So you must have been on board pretty early to get that ready.
Yeah. So for me, I'm actually married to Matty's sister, Natalie. So sort of been involved around the family quite a lot. Done some work previously with Matty for his gym in terms of branding. Actually did the logo for Kingston Diamonds, the female team that's run by Matty's stepdad. A couple of years ago, did the logo for them. Obviously, when Matty started with the Seahawks, he approached me and asked me to work on the logo, which obviously said yeah. We just went from there, really. Spent probably about a month or so developing the logo. Numerous different designs going back and forth. The logo itself, like the Seahawk in it, almost had a mullet at one point, which would have been disastrous if that got released. But averted from that. Obviously, Matt is a massive FC fan. I'm a Rovers fan. There was quite a lot of banter in terms of the logo, the colours. I did a red logo at one point.
I'm surprised that they make its way onto the Christmas shirt.
Well, to be honest, he never actually replied to me regarding the red logo. It was always black and white. He had a clear vision of what he wanted. But I think we nailed the logo in terms of the way it looks.
Have you still got a copy of the mullet one?
Yeah, I have actually. We should maybe release it. Maybe have a flashback of what could have been.
The mullet is in now.
Yeah, it is.
The mullet is definitely.
Maybe we give Sammy a mullet next year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of this process of breaking down the logo, you said it takes a month to get it from, I don't know whether you do a pencil drawing or does it start. I'm assuming it all starts digitally now, but having a logo that's ready to go on a shirt, sounds like such a painstaking process. I'm sure even myself and Martin, who have linked to a lot of sports clubs, you can't imagine the work that must go into that.
Yeah, definitely a lot of work. And I think with sort of the creative industry, it's obviously very subjective. Everyone has a different opinion to start with. So there's always that sort of back and forth. I think at the time there was me, Ian and Matty mainly involved in it. So obviously everyone has different opinions. Some people like certain things. So yeah, we had plenty of concepts that we ran through. But I think we got there. Obviously, Matty clearly had in his head what he wanted, which I knew from the start. But we kind of took it took a while to get there, but we got there in the end.
It's crazy though, isn't it? Because you think about obviously just the logo, but like Connor just said, the amount of work that goes into it. Obviously, shirt designs and stuff that are coming this year, and obviously fans will see them soon. The amount of back and forths on all the different cup shirts, league shirts, warm-up jerseys, people just wouldn't believe, would they?
No, I think we started that around Christmas time. The first jersey designs, still going at it now, almost there. But yeah, it's a painstaking process, but to be honest, it's nice to be asked. It's not that often that you have the opportunity to brand a sports team. A lot of sports clubs are sort of around for decades. They've got a brand. Fans aren't that happy about rebranding. There's a few examples I can think of recently where
I'm just thinking Matty's all
really bad in terms of rebrands. So yeah, it was. I think overall, when we released the logo, it was got a good reception from it, which is good because it was quite daunting at the time, to be fair.
No, it certainly did get a good reception. He's, of course, the whole colour scheme, the Seahawk name, the logo. It's got enough of that traditional sort of 30-year-old, 35-year-old Humberside Seahawk, but it's well and truly in the modern era, isn't it? Which is exactly what it needed to kickstart the brand, of course, that is the Hull Seahawks. And just want to, of course, you two will be sort of fully encompassed in this, and it's about building the brand that is the Seahawks. And I had a really good chat with Matty and Joe a couple of weeks ago about how you go from that initial idea to being a successful club, and it's all about building the brand and bringing people in. And a lot of the work that you do goes towards that. It's not all about the on-ice product; it's about everything else that goes around it. And obviously, you two are key players in that. How important is it that the socials, the branding, the logos, the merch, to having that successful business?
Yeah, I think the world that we're in now, especially now more than ever, everything is online. Everybody's online. I mean, even my parents are on social media and stuff now, which is just frightening. Do you know what I mean? You've just gone from a world where people aren't really that interested to everybody's on it now, because if you're not, you miss out on news, on everything. It's the first place now that you look to for breaking news, for signing announcements, for anything. It's just absolutely just mad. But in terms of building the brand and stuff, I know the guys have joked about it. I think they said the best thing about the club last season was the merch, and I do agree with that. But
I think the social media is probably on par there, to be fair. I think you've killed it last year with the social media.
Yeah, it's okay. I tell you what is really nice, to be honest, is other fans obviously just saying, that it's good. You know, I know it's not obviously everybody's cup of tea, and I'm sure sometimes, definitely in the past season, there's come very close to some of those lines with a few comments and whatnot, trying to have a bit of good fun with other teams and whatnot. But I think that's all in it. It's all a bit of friendly fun and just having a bit of general banter with teams and people. I think it just needs to happen, you know. But yeah, no, it's been really good. It's just so important, so important. Like, people don't see like all the boosted posts as well that we do behind the scenes to try and get everybody within sort of like the Hull area as well. We try and really target like audiences that will like hockey, like your rugby, like your combat sports, the more similar sports to ice hockey, and just your ice skaters, your figure skaters, all that kind of stuff. It's just, yeah, like you say, the work that goes on behind the scenes is just doing a full-time job, our own bits and bobs, which I'm sure we'll get onto, and then obviously the club side as well. It's a full-time thing in itself, you know. So it's really good. I'm sure you can speak more about the whole brand and stuff as a package.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else to add, to be fair.
I've just blabbered on for that. Yeah, so no, I do apologise, but it's the whole thing in itself, like the whole black and white identity. I think something, just going back to the jersey, something we spoke about in this kind of off season, because the off season started quite early, didn't it? Because we kind of knew towards the end of the season when the playoffs wasn't coming in. That's when Matty started obviously signing the players, and we kind of spoke about, obviously the black and white is good for the identity, but obviously we're going to start to slowly bring in some colours and stuff, aren't we, this year into the jerseys? So.
Yeah, and I think the black and white. I'm not sure what fans think, if they think it's kind of taken from FC, but I don't think it is that. I think it's really from Matty, the whole black and white era. I mean, his full gym's black and white.
Joe's business is black and white.
Joe's business is black and white. Yeah, so there's a theme, to be fair.
No, I'd certainly agree. In terms of the rest of the brand itself, though, of course, you've got to think everything's gone right so far with that. What else can we do in terms of the branding? Is there much else that's left to be unexplored in terms of that? Do you reckon?
Oof, great question. I think there's always more you can do. I'm whatever I do in life, I think there's always more to do. Whether that's more items for merch,
more advertising
in and around the city. All that kind of stuff, and just going back to the merch, like just other items, like summer items, like beach towels and bucket hats and all that kind of stuff that people would just like love to have. It's different, but then actually the merch in itself is great marketing as well. I know Martin is very fond of the old Seahawks merch. I know he's always dripping and wearing that, so it's good, you know. And even when I'm back at home in Leeds and Wakefield now, I'm always, well, not always, because it wouldn't be great, but I still wear my whole Seahawks stuff. It's nice to just get the word out and annoy a few local fans potentially as well. Some people give me the odd stare and it's a bit like, what are you doing over here in West Yorkshire? But it's good, you know. It's something that I think Matty's done a really good job with, like the logo and stuff, and we're just proud to wear it.
I can confirm Martin is currently wearing Seahawks merch right now.
Good line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's got to be done. We're recording the pod, so got to do it, haven't we? But this is for you then, Cal. Obviously, you do a great job with the social media and everything, but how difficult is it juggling all the platforms?
There's a new one now as well.
Oh, yeah,
Fred's coming.
You messaged me about that today, and I won't tell you my response because I think it would have to be bleeped out or something. But yeah, no, it's hard. It's hard work across the three platforms. Obviously, Joe has started the TikTok. I'm not 100% sure how much he's done on that yet, but I know obviously that's a huge thing at the minute. But Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I just use one platform that posts on all three. So it is a lot simpler. It's a lot easier, which is just massive help. It's a massive time saver. Obviously, it has its positives and negatives, because when I first started, I was posting, like, when it was a signing announcement, I'd have them like all the tabs open, ready to like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and then just go and send on to the next, and that's how we started. You know what I mean? I know that was obviously about a year ago now, but how it's all kind of moved on from then, how we've like adapted to making it this smooth process. Probably wasn't as smooth as we liked it to be for Bobby Chamberlain's announcement, as I was driving home and I'm getting phone calls at 2 minutes past saying, why isn't it posted? And I'm absolutely just panicking. But eventually, obviously, it went out, because I know Milton Keynes did a post at the same time. But yeah, no, just going back to your question, it's a good big juggle. And like I've already touched on, we do it for the love of the club. The amount of work that we do throughout the week together, the amount of chats that goes on and stuff is just incredible. I know the guys really appreciate it. I'm sure everybody else does at home as well, and all the fans and whatnot. Yeah, it's just really good. It's really rewarding. I'll tell you what some of the funny stuff is, to be fair, like behind the scenes, like with signings and obviously stuff like that. Like we're quite, I'll say, lucky, because obviously we find out beforehand with the graphics and obviously everything that needs to be created in the background. Like people and family members and, oh, who is it this week, and all that kind of stuff, and it's quite funny. But obviously you just don't tell people, because you have that level of trust from the guys, and obviously you want the level of excitement to be at its highest when you announce a signing, so it gets the best reaction on social media, so it goes to as many people as possible. So as much as you'd love to tell your friends and your family, you just can't. And that's the kind of stuff that I like as well, is to be sort of trusted with that level of information and detail. So it's really good.
Do you see different engagement across the platforms?
Yes, and I tell you what, it changes from time to time as well. And I think there's different sort of, I'll say, different age groups on the different platforms. Like everybody's on Facebook, let's be honest, but maybe not your younger guys as such. I'd say your Facebook is more like sort of 20 and over-ish. So you get the vast majority on there. Twitter, you get, I'll say, like your diehard hockey fans. Everything hockey is on Twitter. So you get quite a few on there, but not as many, obviously. And then Instagram is very much like, I'll say, the younger generation as such. So anybody that's allowed an Instagram account or whatever, or they've got a phone or whatever, but it's definitely a younger generation on Instagram. But throughout the three platforms, I think they all do really well, especially with signings. That's something that we've been quite proud of, isn't it, this year? The amount of sort of engagement on signings and like the fun fair and everything during this off season has just been phenomenal from the fans. And obviously it's just a big thank you to them, because it genuinely does really help. Even just when you comment on it, you don't realise, because that'll then, without you knowing, pop up on your feed, and then all your friends will see that, and that's what just helps spread the word about the club. And obviously we're doing that that season ticket as well, the free season ticket competition, and obviously that's taken off. Probably need to do another post about that again soon, because that ends, I think it's the end of this month, isn't it?
Yeah,
somewhere. So just stuff like that. Different age groups, but all going really well. So yeah, because that's something that I was quite worried about during the off season. Obviously, no hockey, it gets a bit quieter, it gets a bit sort of, oh, what can you do? What can you put on? We can't really put too many games on, because let's be honest, last year wasn't the best of years for us, but I think it's been good.
Yeah, it's been decent.
I'd certainly have to agree. Otherwise, Martin's nodding at me. I don't think it's because of what I'm about to say that I can barely even work Instagram. Martin's better at it than I am. I think you've hit the nail on the head with sort of the age brackets there. But moving on, sort of in terms of the wider sort of digital and marketing and that type of thing, of course, there's not just the socials and the brand. There's a whole host of other things that have been put out there by the Seahawks that you're heavily involved in. And one of them that me and Callum, I think, both said off air that people absolutely loved was the digital programs last year. Of course, I'm sure we all remember going to games, when we were younger, and there was that physical program that you could tick off during the game. Of course, they come with a cost, and for the vast majority of clubs, it's not financially viable anymore. But with the digital programs, you can have a bit more fun with it, can't you? Because there's a whole host more things you can do with it. You get that little bit more time to plan it in advance. It's available wherever you want to go, and everyone seems to really engage with that. And I think you're sort of the driving seat behind that, aren't you, Matt?
Yeah, I think it was actually Ian at the time that really wanted to push it when we first started the program, but we carried it on after he sort of left the club anyway. And picked up some good engagement. It was challenging at times, to be honest, designing it. Obviously, it's a monthly magazine showing all of the games from the previous month. But a lot of the time, the content was in the last week of the month. So to design something of that nature, sort of 30 pages long in a week, when you work full time and have your own business and then do this on the side, it's a bit can be hectic. But no, it was good fun, and I know it was all hands on deck really, in terms of like Matty got involved, Carl did a lot with the players, gathering content. Everyone kind of mucked in, and we got it over the line every month somehow. I think we missed one at the end of the month, to be fair.
I think the tough thing, like you just
season, sorry.
Yeah, the tough thing that you just mentioned then was like when the big games like on the 28th, 29th or 30th.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, have you got these bits and bobs yet? And I'm like, oh, I just want to hold off, because like we might have a 4-point weekend, or we might something I just didn't want to miss for that next month. And then you just had that real quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And it was just,
Matty had done his program notes, and then on the last weekend, something drastic would happen in the month. And we'd have to change the full thing.
We'd got another ban or something like that, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, it was a bit hectic at times, but no, it was good. And I think hopefully try and do it again next season. We could potentially look at getting printed ones, but it's just...
You've committed to that now by saying it.
Look into it, not promising anything. It's just the timescales, I suppose, in terms of printing and the cost, and whether people would actually want a printed version, or if the digital ones.
You're a bit unsure about them. Me and Connor, I think Martin as well. People genuinely loved it as well.
Yeah.
I think with it being free online, I think a lot of people would just either read it on the way to the game, or read it while they're sat in a seat before the game. Do you know what I mean? I think it's good.
No, so we spoke about them a lot, in the studio and things like that. I remember the rush to get Matt. I wrote Matty's farewell piece, I think, for the February edition.
Yeah,
that was a long piece.
It was, yeah.
It covered about 6 pages of one of the programs, I think, that one. They are sort of great pieces of content that people love to get involved with. In terms of printed, with that, I know it's all hypotheticals. You'd probably think it'd got to stay monthly if that was the case anyway. It's just not viable for any clubs to do game day ones now, is it? So unfortunately, because the nice little mementos, I remember some point last season, I remember Ian coming up and gifting me an original Humberside Seahawks program back from '89, I believe. They are nice little mementos that people can grasp onto, but times are changing, and of course, you two are sort of the guys that are sort of leading that digital sort of drive at the Seahawks anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but I wasn't born then, so you're not going to get that from me. I'm afraid.
But next thing, so of course, this is something that you've been involved in a bit with Callum. And of course, Matt's logo can be seen all across it, is the live streaming. And of course, that's a huge part of digital content and media now. Matty's asked us to throw this one in. I'm not just trying to big myself and Martin up. Of course, the most memorable moment of the commentary last year might have been you standing alongside Joe going kick it in the box. But no, in terms of the live stream, of course, there was some big changes sort of for the Seahawks in around December time, wasn't there, with Power Media Live coming on board. And sort of from then on in, the Seahawks were sort of, you got to think, doing some fantastic work on the live streaming as well, the replays, the interviews before, during the games. There were so many extra little features that you may not get elsewhere, and it helps just, bring that content to those who can't make the games, and for away fans as well. We want them to sort of enjoy, you know, when their team is coming down to Hull, you know, you want them to think, well, Hull's a team I can rely on for a good live stream. I can still watch the game. And I think we became that, didn't we, sort of second half of the season?
Yeah, I tell you what, the hardest thing was rebuilding that reputation from the start of the season from the other streaming guys. Obviously, no disrespect to them. It's a really tough building. It's tin roof. It's really hard to get signal.
Streaming out of a fridge.
Yeah, and you're just fighting an uphill battle. But since obviously Power Media Live and obviously yourselves have come on board as well, like you just mentioned with the interviews before the game, genuinely now, I think if everybody was to look and watch across all the streams for what you get on ours, and I think what it's going to be next year as well, I just think it's phenomenal. I really do. Like the commentary, just the whole package, like of it starting 15-20 minutes before with the interviews and, like you say, the replays and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's really, really good. Like if you can't make it, if you're on holiday or whatever, and I know that's a benefit of having a season ticket this season. So if you have a season ticket and you are on holiday, if you email in and let us know, then you will get a free streaming code so you can watch it on the sunny beach in wherever you are, or up a mountain somewhere. I don't know, but you can do that, you know. So it's credit to you guys. It's credit to the Power Media guys, and yeah, long may it continue, because it's a real big plus for the club. And let's be honest, it's an extra income stream. And I think a lot of clubs wouldn't survive without it. And I genuinely mean that. Like, a lot of people don't realise the amount of, I don't know what all teams get, but if you're getting good numbers and you're timesing that by, I mean, what do we charge? 12, is it £12? I think it is. So you're timesing that by 100, 200 people who are watching from home, the away fans, that adds up over a 28 game home season, you know. So it all matters to clubs at the second level of ice hockey in this country.
No, I'd certainly agree. And of course, I remember late September, the first couple of weeks of the season, me and you, Callum, sort of, they're doing dummy commentary with one microphone that was barely plugged in. And to go from there to what it is now is, you know, incredible. And of course, obviously, Martin, you sort of came on board around Christmas time, just as it was. You came in at the right time, I think, Martin, didn't they?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, the guys are great, and like that little setup they've got and the way they can work the magic, and it looks so professional as well. It's such a crisp streaming service. It's just unreal. It's really good. So I'm really proud to be a part of it, really. And
of course, another part of media is TikTok, and you mentioned it briefly early, Cam. I know it's something you're not a huge fan of yourself, but Joe's obviously took the reins on that one this year, and he's looking forward to having some fun with it. It is certainly going to be, you know, if done correctly, it's going to be another thing that helps the club get out there, even if it's not quite your cup of tea, isn't it?
Carnage. Yeah. It is my cup of tea, because I'll sit and watch it on a night for what I feel like I want it to be 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm still scrolling 3 hours later watching somebody build a swimming pool in their back garden. Do you know what I mean? So I do like watching it.
I'm sure we could ask Joe to build a swimming pool.
just the thought of having to do like another social media channel again, like the amount of time, and anybody can create content, but creating good quality content that's relevant to the club, that's going to help benefit it, that takes time and effort. So
yeah, I can vouch for that. I've got a bit of a story about that, actually, which I was gonna mention when you mentioned about the commentary. So the first time last season when Cal came onto the commentary, it was quite early in the season. Some people might remember this because I got absolutely slated for it. But I think Cal thought that I was kind of a hockey fanatic, when in reality I've watched Matty a few times. And then until last season, sort of, I still ask his dad what the rules are, to be fair, each game. And Cal had asked me if I could do the Twitter account while he went on commentary, because I want anyone else to do it. So I reluctantly said yes.
So is this why, Callum, you asked for a break from me up on the gantry?
Yeah, it was terrible. I got absolutely slated after the game. I think in the third period, I only put sort of 2 tweets out, because I couldn't watch the game and type at the same time, trying to search for players' photos when they scored. It was an absolute nightmare. And anyway, I got banned from Twitter by Matty after that. Never let me do it again.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good learning curve.
That was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Now Cal just does both, to be fair, commentary and the match night updates.
It was something about handbags or something on it. I think that was like
that was it. Yeah, there was a fight, and I just put a handbag emoji. I think.
Yeah, somebody. Can't please everyone, can you? But yeah, no, I do remember that. It was quite funny.
Obviously, Callum, that is one of your game day responsibilities, isn't it? Alongside a whole host of other things. Something we've not quite picked up on it. How difficult actually is that? Because of course, myself and Martin, and of course yourself when you're up there as well. Commentary, you've got to be constantly on top of your game. It's so hard. It's probably the hardest sport, or if not at least one of, to commentate on, because it is one of the fastest sports out there. But in terms of trying to look at a screen and the ice at the same time, that's probably too far for even me.
Yeah, it's pretty special. Just even thinking about it, to be honest, I'll have to, when it's pre-season for the guys, it'll be probably pre-season for me as well, getting back used to it, because it's just, honestly, like you say, the speed of the game. 1 second you're down one end of the ice, the next you're up the other end, and it's just, it's rewarding, because you're then also keeping the people who aren't at the game involved. And obviously, like we touched on earlier, like that whole package of people seeing about the Seahawks and stuff like that. Like when we score a goal, obviously the amount of interaction we get from that is massive. And that's not just from our fans and maybe not such the away team or whoever we're playing, but the teams across the league, because I know for a fact, like, during the period breaks, you'll be looking at other team scores and stuff like that. You'll type in Hull Seahawks and you'll have a look and you'll see what's going on. So I think that commentary during the game is, it's really difficult because of the speed of the game, especially when you're trying to find the GIFs and photos and stuff for the players. And I remember when I first started it, it was literally just a guessing game, because they all had the first screen was like all the same. And it was like, I tried putting like however many, like Towner was like top row in the center, and I remember when I first come to do it, it was like all in a backwards order, and it's horrendous. But it's good. You just gotta, I think I've mastered like typing just without looking, knowing roughly where the keyboard is. I've not made any big mistakes yet. Like I know some accounts famously have, and mistype words, and there's a big a different spelling for shot that's gone on goal and all that kind of stuff. But I've not done any of that. But
I think as well, like having that knowledge of like away players as well, because that's one thing I struggled with. I didn't really know many of the away team. So trying to type when they'd scored a goal, remember who it was, especially typing while trying to listen to the tannoy. That was impossible. So that's off to you, because I don't know how you do it, to be fair.
That's tough, but I will tell you a bit of a secret now. So basically there's a match night group, and I know you're in this as well, Connor. So any goals or penalties that get put in, obviously I'm in it. I rarely put anything in there, but like the guys down in the penalty box will put like who's got the penalty in there, so I can already start typing before it's been announced. So that's a bit of a trick that a lot of people won't know. So
copy and paste stuff, really, then, isn't it?
Well, no,
you've making it sound easy now.
You've laughed.
No, it's not. It's not. I promise. It's a little bit more difficult because you got to add a bit of context to it, and obviously the goals and the assists and all that kind of stuff. But it's it is really, really good, and but that helps massively. I remember when I first started, I wasn't in that group, and then I heard about this group. I was like,
I think it was from me potentially.
Yeah, I just remember you, and I think my jaw must have dropped. I was like, oh my God, like, you need to get me in on this because it'll just make my life so much easier. And it has. And I tell you what I have really enjoyed as well is sometimes last season going on the bus with the guys to away games must have been mad. But like just going and seeing all the other rinks across the league and all that kind of stuff is like just really good, just to see what other teams do on a match night and how they come out onto the ice, if they do any pre-game entertainment, all that kind of stuff, and what merch they offer, and the whole package really. And you see some sites, but it's absolutely love it. Wouldn't change it for the world.
So in terms of like the other teams, or you of course mentioned obviously going to visit some of the other rinks and seeing what they're doing, but in terms of what you guys doing as a brand and and as a media team, well, sort of a two-part. Do you ever sort of have any collaboration with any other teams? Or do you ever sort of look at the other teams and think, what I quite like what they're doing? What can we do that's maybe similar without stealing an idea? Is there much of that goes on in the league?
All the time in our Seahawks group chat, I think. Put a lot of inspiration in there, see what everyone else is doing. But there's a lot of topics in there, to be fair.
Don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Screw it. Like fixtures and stuff. Obviously, I imagine why I'm trying to play it off. That they'll be coming out soon to fixture graphics and stuff. Like I, for example, sent Matt a couple of different designs just as inspiration from the Steelers and the Panthers, a couple of different formats. You know what I mean? Because obviously I know we had ours last year, which was really good. I think just having that inspiration from different ideas. It's all about just following all the other teams on socials, isn't it? And then just seeing what they do, and then just picking and taking ideas and running with it. If it looks great, go for it. If it doesn't really work, then you just kind of go back to what you was doing. But a lot of good stuff comes from other teams. I like a lot of Peterborough Phantoms work in terms of their graphics and stuff like that as well. I think they do a really good job there. Leeds do as well. They do some really good work in terms of the content within the posts. I really like that kind of stuff. And I tell you what I do love is Bristol as well. Bristol Pitbulls, them on Twitter for having a good bit of a laugh and banter as well. That's really good. And the Sweet Caroline count, all that kind of stuff that just goes on that fans and stuff won't be aware of. But yeah, that's all behind the scenes kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that sounds really awesome. And obviously looking at other things and getting ideas is a really cool idea. But what about the actual podcast itself? How much of an impact do you think the podcast has had with the Seahawks in general?
Yeah, I think it's really good, to be fair. I think obviously video and audio content's right up there. It's one of these new kind of platforms that, well, I wouldn't say that new anymore, but emerging platforms that everyone's using.
No other team does it really as such, especially at our level, do they? So no. I just think having that weekly thing of I know obviously fans were very conscious of it in the Pirates days where the social media was very quiet, and especially at the end when the club obviously didn't return kind of thing. There wasn't even a thank you or a farewell or anything like that. So excuse me, just having these these weekly podcasts and stuff during the off season to keep the fans engaged and updated and getting the new signings on. I think it's huge. I really do.
It's a lot more personal as well, isn't it? Rather than just a story on the website of an interview. It's a lot more in depth.
Yeah. And that's just like you just mentioned, podcasts and stuff. That's just everybody's getting and going on podcasts and stuff, aren't they? And obviously it's just a huge thing for the club. I know you speak to Matty a lot and listen to him say quite a lot as well, and all that kind of stuff. But it's a real good drinking game actually if you haven't done that. But it's absolutely fantastic. And again, credit to you guys. You give up so much time and effort on commentary and doing these for our 2 hours tonight, for example, and it's just immense.
Yeah. No, so a lot of time goes into it, but I'll say exactly what you said regarding the fans wanting the content, and of course it gives them that gateway into something that might not see as part of the club. We had the great one with Joe and Matty where we discussed a lot of the thinking about backstage at the club, with yourself. A lot of clubs might not know exactly what goes into the media side, how much effort and work that you guys put in and how things came to be, particularly in terms of the brand and stuff like that. And they're going to get access to all that, and it's not just an off-season thing, it will be continuing throughout the season. So whereas last year, of course, week to week, we got to hear the odd little bit from the players, but week to week, we're going to have players, we're going to have Matty, we're going to have, other people involved with the club. And even, fans on time to time as well, to really sort of break down, exactly what's going on with this club. 52 weeks a year, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. What I want to talk to you guys about now is, of course, we've talked a lot about what you do, with the club, and about your areas of expertise as well. But I believe you're sort of putting that together for a new exciting venture. And I know it's closely linked in, particularly with its name, particularly into ice hockey as well. But do you want to sort of give us a bit of an insight to that? Because of course it's just another layer to how busy you guys are going to be. But it sounds like a really exciting time, for two important people at the club. So fans are going to want to hear about it.
Yeah. Go on, Matt, take it away.
Do you want me to start?
Go on.
Yeah, so me and Cal, obviously, his experience in social media, mine in design, marketing, sort of come together to create a brand after working together last season, called Overtime Digital Media, specializing in social media management, but also doing sort of branding, websites, anything creative really, in that area. Sort of offering monthly packages for businesses. Mainly, I suppose our target audience really, or business model, is aimed at companies that maybe can't afford a marketing team or a graphic designer. Maybe at that level where they want to expand, but they don't have the time or the efforts to have a constant social media presence. So we're going to offer these packages in social media management, various different packages which come with, for example, bespoke graphics, bespoke video, weekly meetings. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, no, it really is. Really well priced as well, I think, personally as well. And like, we've got all the different sort of layers of costings, so like bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And I think I'm right in saying as well, like if you want to, like, you can sort of like peak and trough through the different packages as well. So it's quite flexible depending on like if you've got events and stuff coming up. And obviously working with a couple of local businesses already, aren't we?
Yeah.
One of them being Tommy Ralph's bar in Hull. Like his cocktail bar, Hugo. So, and then there's GCGF events as well. Who's actually good friends with Tom as well. So we've started off on a real strong foot, and the sort of audience and stuff that they're capturing from that is a lot better than it was. So that's the main goal really at the end of the day, isn't it? So really happy, and those guys are as well. So yeah, really exciting times ahead, and we just look forward to just continuing to expand.
No, it sounds absolutely brilliant. If anybody listening, fans of the club or people from elsewhere sort of would be interested in sort of acquiring your expertise, how would they go about that?
We've just got emails sorted now, haven't we?
Yeah. So Callum at
Overtime. Yeah, so Callum at
our own name then.
Callum at overtimedigitalmedia.co.uk, and then you've got Matt at overtimedigitalmedia.co.uk.
I got flustered because I couldn't remember whether yours was Cal or Callum. We had a discussion the other day.
I remember you asked me.
I was trying to think.
I remember you asked me. I was like, I'm having full name. I'm not having Cal. Yeah. So
and the website will be coming shortly. We're just working on that. And our social media pages are live. We've not done much with them yet, but we will be in the next few weeks.
Yeah, ready to take off.
No, it certainly sounds like a busy time for you two fellas. We've got to say thank you very much for joining us on the pod. It's been absolutely, fantastic to hear, personal things from yourself. You two putting so much hard work into the club, making what it is. So, much appreciated, from ourselves. But, we like to sometimes think we speak on behalf of, the Seahawks fans when we have guests on this show. We absolutely love hearing from you, and, in terms of whether it be the media, the brand, there's a lot of long-lasting sort of legacy. No matter how long you're with the club, and we all hope you're there for years and years to come. But you've been an important part of the club so far, and that's what fans really appreciate.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Of course. And Martin, it's been another fantastic episode, hasn't it? Have you enjoyed this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love being part of this pod and talking to all friends, old and new, and the fans and players. It's been awesome.
No, make sure that you join us next week for episode 8 of the Hull Seahawks Behind the Curtain podcast. We're going to have another very, very special guest joining us next week. He's been Martin Cattle. We've been joined by Callum Gladding and Matt Mallory of the Hull Seahawks, and I've been Connor Lynn. And this podcast has been brought to you in association with Beverly FM. Make sure that you like, follow, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and wherever you get your podcasts from. And thank you for listening to Behind the Curtain. Make sure you stay tuned.